Okay. Hello, my name is Osvaldo Gonzalez. I'm seeking candidacy to be accepted into the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley Principal Certification program. I have a master's in educational leadership, which I got from UTRGV in 2021. And the presentation is going to be about how using student data uh, uh, to improve instruction. Um, So the objective for me is for me to demonstrate my knowledge on how to use student data to improve instruction. So our agenda for this next hour is going to be is me introducing the objective, an introduction of myself, going into the instructional core, which dives into student, teacher, and the curriculum and the content, which is directly aligned to student data. The types of student performance data and different types of data and interpreting that data, connecting the data to instructional decision making, and then building continuous data cycle based on those data interpretations and data connections, and then the next steps. Okay, so introduction of myself. My name is Osvaldo Gonzalez. Um, I have 12 years of educational experience, all in PSJ ISD. I taught 6 years as a second and fourth grade teacher, 2 years in second grade, and 4 years in fourth grade. I am currently the instructional coach at Sergeant Leonard Trevino Elementary. It's a campus that has about 400 students, give or take, with about 80 percent of those students being emergent bilinguals or ELLs. And we do have a very high ECOD, about a 97% economically disadvantaged population. We also have uh, based on the campus, by the percentage, we do have a large special education population as well. I've been a collaborative learning leader for 6 years. That's just a fancy word that the district uh, named our position of instructional coach. And as far as elementary school, the leadership team consists of the principal, the assistant principal, or the facilitator, uh, the counselor, and the instructional coach, which is the collaborative learning leader, the position that I currently hold. And so I do have a saying here. It says student data drives instruction. And there's a saying here, without data, all we have is an opinion. Data is very important. Student data is very important to make educational decision, instructional decisions, and to improve instruction. We don't know what we don't know, but data can share some insights. Now, the most important part of teaching and I believe instructional leadership is the instructional core, which is uh, the teacher, and the content, and the connection of all those in between. And I like to call this el corazón de la instrucción. This is very important because uh, teacher actions directly impact student performance, and student performance should impact, and will through data analysis impact teacher adjustments and teacher performance. And then all that is got brought together with the content as well. Do we need to improve the content based on student performance? Do we need to improve or help our teachers adapt with professional development for our students in that content, uh, in these areas. So all these areas are connected, and through the instructional core is where we can see the importance of uh, interpreting data to improve student achievement and student performance. Okay, so there's different types of data. Um, there's campus data, there's district data, there's formal data, there's informal and classroom data, there's observational and qualitative data. Um, some data that I'm not going to get too much into, but is very important that should that educators, specifically um, principals and educational leaders, should match their decision making would be with student demographic data. And so administrators do need to adapt their systems in order to be able to uh, plan and inform their staff and their decisions based on their student demographics. So for example, the student demographics at Trevino Elementary, which I went over at the very beginning, we had 97% economically disadvantaged student population, uh, 99.9% Hispanics, and out of those, we have over 80% emergent bilingual students. So 4 out of every 5 students is an emergent bilingual, uh, most likely has English as their second language. And so that does contribute to adjustments in data. So that's the very first thing a principal or educational leader should address and understand is who are they serving? What's the community they're serving? And what is the best way to serve them? Okay. And so going into the types of student performance data, we have formal, which would be the state assessment, your district benchmarks, your standardized test. And some examples of that would be your STAR, your TELPAS, or your intra-district benchmarks. Now, there is some classroom data or some informal assessment data types that can also help drive that instruction or improve instruction, which would be student work samples, exit ticket, quick quizzes. And then there's also observational or qualitative data, which is teacher data, teacher feedback, student feedback, and also classroom observations. And it's up to the administrators on the campus and the campus level and district levels to triangulate this data to make sure that our decisions and our actions our initiatives are based on this data moving forward. So some examples for some formal assessments would be the STAR state assessments. We get beautiful data from that, and data that would help drive instruction year by year. Um, we have the TELPAS data in district benchmarks that can help us adjust mid-year, adjust instruction during mid-year. Uh, Phases, and then we do have informal examples. For example, exit tickets, student work samples, quizzes, and a strategy that I like to use is the analyzing student learning strategy, and we'll get to that a little bit more detail when I give you guys some real world examples of how data can help analyzing data can help the teachers adjust their instruction to help uh, students succeed. Now, the last one is the qualitative data, which is triangulating your observational data, uh, looking at the student and teacher actions. You mostly get this through classroom observations, and it's also part of data. This is data that school administrators, district leaders, school leaders need to use in order to improve instruction. So I'm going to go into an example of formal data from my campus, Sergeant Leonard Trevino Elementary. Um, so there's different ways that you can analyze data, but the best way to analyze data is through the TAPER reports that are provided by the state. Um, so there's district and school data. From there, at a local level, you can find the grade level and target group data, and then you could do grade level reports, specific grade levels. If you find a target group is third grade or fourth grade, or in high schools, uh, your chemistry, you can find very specific reports on 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 how these grade levels are performing, or you can specifically target groups like your EB students, your ELL students, your SPED population, your economically disadvantaged population, your Hispanic population, your Anglo population, your African American population, your population of continuously enrolled students, and your population of non-continuously enrolled students. Also, you can dive deeper into the data by looking at specific teachers, individual teacher reports to help improve and drive that instruction. And you can even go into student data. You can look at student responses, student categories, and student reports. And I'll give you guys examples of that right now. So, uh, one thing that I like to do is find a focus first, right? Find a focus and identify that focus based on historical data, 3 years of data, comparison reports on how that campus or specific groups compare to the district and to the state. Okay, and so I'm gonna pull out the 24-25, 23-24 report from Taper. I would use the 24-25, but it's not available yet, and it hasn't been released to me at the moment. But I'm gonna use this as an example, and so um, you need to find a focus in order for the education leader to know what areas of focus and need uh, they need to focus on in order to drive their improvements that will drive the professional development and adjustment teachers will make to improve the student data, improve the student performance. And so the TAPER report helps us understand the campus performance and the domain one performance for students in reading, math, and science for third, fourth, and fifth grade. And this is in elementary. This is very similar in high school and middle school, and their data will just show more assessments. But for example, in this campus and in the campus I currently work at, we look at how students performed in the 2024 STAR. And so if in the highlighted area, we have our campus scored 67% at approaches level and above in 2024. And compared to the district, they were 4 points below that. The district scored at a 71 and a 74. Now, this area could be an area of concern since they're scoring below. These are all students, all populations at this level. And then we look here at the meets chart. Although we did score at 67, lower than the district and the state, we outperformed them in the meets grade level. We had 52% of those students be at meets grade level or above, when the district and the state had a 45 and a 48. And so that's a very good sign. That's one of the outliers that there is something going on, right? But there is a something going on here in the approaches grade level. Now, if we look at the master's grade level, this is just for third grade reading, we can see that they underperformed as well compared to the district and the state. They scored the campus scored at a 12, and the district scored at a 18%, and the state scored at a 21%. So compared to the district, we were at a minus a 6 percent. We were 6% below them, and then we were at a 9% below the state. So this could be an area of focus here. Now we can also dive deeper by looking at target groups, and we'll see how our target groups did. And two of the target groups that didn't perform very well were our special education students in third grade and our economically I'm sorry, not economic discipline, but are non-continuously enrolled. Now, our continuously enrolled students, that means students that have been with Trevino for since they started with us and don't move around and don't jump schools a lot. They scored at 72%, which is higher. So that means that if they stay in Trevino, they're performing well. But this is an alarming. These two, the SPED and the non-continuously enrolled, are alarming data points, right? Even our EB or EL population scored about the same, 68, 67. So right now here you could start seeing uh, areas of possible focus for improvement. So this data is letting us know that at least in third grade, our special population students and our non-continuously enrolled students, students that move around, students that like to, well, not like the situation means that they might have to move, and this data here is alarming because this school serves a lot of trailer parks, so we can see why this here uh is not that high, and we'll see trends. We'll make connections in other um grade levels as well, and as a whole. Now, I do want to point out I started with third grade because this grade level does demonstrate the gaps that the school has. They generally do underperform at a master's grade level in every subject, and we'll see that right now. And then our SPED populations and our non-continuously enrolled students do perform at a lower rate than other populations, target populations, and we'll see that right now. Now, in our third grade mathematics, the campus scored at a 67 and the district scored at 68%. We underperformed them by 1%. Uh, and in the meets grade level, we underperformed them by 2%, 35, 37. Now, in the master's grade level, again, making the connection to the third grade reading, we underperformed the state and the district by a lot. And so that's another area of need once you start seeing the third grade reading and the third grade math is our master's numbers are not up to par with the district and the state. And then if we look at our non-continuously enrolled students and our SPED population, we had 0% of students that were non-continuously enrolled and special ed score at a master's grade level. And that is an alarming statistic there. And so I'm not going to go one by one, but I wanted to point that out. In third grade reading, third grade math is a very good look at the data that kind of shows that trend with third, fourth, and fifth grade. So let's look at all the grade levels. Let's look at how we performed in all grade subjects. So in all grade subjects, we were at a 74 percent in all subjects, math, reading, science. The district was at a 74 and the state was a 74. So we're performing at the same level once we put our third, fourth, and fifth grade numbers together in reading, math, and science. That was an improvement from the 2023 school year from 71 to 74. So there is a trend of improvement in the campus. And at meets grade level, we scored at a 47, which was 1 point above the district and 1 point below the state. So we were performing uh, an average there, right, in approaches and meets. But let's look at the master's grade level. Masters here, in all the tests, students that performed above average, we had 14% of our students. Now, the district had 17 and the state had a 20. If you look at all the grade subjects, we are underperforming by 3 points, 3 percentage points with the district and six in the state. And that would be enough data to say, hey, that should be a focus. Help improve have create systems to help improve our students in the master's level. We need to do something to improve our higher order thinking, improve our students' capability of attacking um, rigorous materials in this assessment. All right, now let's look at the population, the target populations. Our SPED population here at the master's grade level, well, let's look at all of them. We were at 53% at approaches or above, way below the school's average. Okay, and then SPED with the meets and above was at 31% compared to the 47% compared to the district. I mean, sorry, for the campus. So you can already see the trend here. Our SPED population in all grade levels, third, fourth, and fifth, is underperforming. And uh, another data point, 1% of our SPED students were at master's grade level. Okay, so the data trend continues with the SPED students at a master's level, right? So we're not just failing all students, we're also failing those SPED students. Now we look at the continuously, non-continuously enrolled, the other target population I was talking about. Well, they scored at a 72% compared to our 74 in approaches, but once you go down to the meets grade level, they were at uh 50. Let's see, is this yes? They were at a 50 compared to that 47. So they did score a little bit higher, right? That might be an outlier, but the data continues with the masters. We had 14% masters in those non-continuously enrolled students when we look at that 17% in the campus. So those two group SPED and non-continuously enrolled students are underperforming at this a campus, district, and state level. And why is this? Why is it non-continuously enrolled? Why do I target it as well with the SPED? Uh, we service population, we service a community that has several apartments complexes, several uh, trailer parks, trailer homes. You know, a high percentage of our students are highly mobile, and that's why they fall under this category. And so we have to create school systems to help these students. All right. Now, that's the data going, looking at that, and we can do data all day, but that's just an example of the formal data and using the taper reports. But what does the data tell us, right? And what do we know about this data? Well, if we would have dived deeper into the fourth and fifth grade, the reading was a big one. Reading third, fourth, and fifth. Also, third grade reading and math, right? Third grade did underperform the campus if you compare them, but our SPED populations aren't performing at par, and then also our students' performance at master level. Now, there's a lot of areas to focus on, but the main one that I feel would drive instruction, that would drive improvement in the campus, would be targeting that master area, and then targeting those SPED students. Okay, targeting those SPED students. So what we can do is go dive deeper into the grade level, uh, go into third grade reports, fourth grade reports, fifth grade reports with an emphasis on those target groups, those SPED populations, and those non-continuously enrolled populations. We can also dive into the teacher data and look at those individual reports by teacher, see if there's a trend in individual teachers. Maybe since we're a small campus, we have about 3 to 4 teachers in every grade level. One teacher can skew this data, so we can do teacher individual reports through DMAC. And then we can also do student data reports. See if there's 1 or 2 students that might be outliers, or if there's 1 or 2 students that might be skewing this data, uh, and see their responses, their specific responses. Maybe teachers might need professional development based on those responses, or maybe based on the responses that they gave, there might be a need to adjust the curriculum and the content, because that instruction might not be aligning, and so there could be different types of analysis that can be done with these reports. But that's what the student data has shown us from the 23-24 taper reports, that our target populations are SPED, and are not continuously enrolled students, specifically in reading. And if we took more time diving deeper, our third grade was the one that had the biggest gap in those populations. But fourth and fifth also had them as well. And there's a trend there with students performing at a master level in all campus and all grade levels. And that will probably give you the best bang for your buck when domain one and domain two, and when it comes to uh, uh, the rating system, the TEA rating system, report card system for every campus. Domain one would be your student performance, and domain two would be your growth. And so, if from one year to the next growth, and you're also going to be performing well in that domain one. So informal classroom data, just an example of informal classroom data would be student work, exit tickets, and quick quizzes. Now, a strategy um, that can be used in order to use that data uh, to inform instruction and to adjust instruction to improve student data, to improve based on student needs, would be the analyzing student learning strategy. And what this is it's comes in several steps, but the main four steps would be identifying your areas of strength and need uh, based on student work samples. So you get student work samples, student exit tickets. You identify the areas of need and strength. So, for example, students need to complete writing samples, right? For the ECR, they need to answer questions in the STAR with an open-ended response. You get those student work samples weekly, and you base it on a rubric, and you identify based on that rubric, identify areas of strength and areas of need. And you can do this with your as a whole group, all students, or you can target that special population of students and identify the areas of strength and areas of need within those populations or within those students, reflect on the needs and how we can improve on those needs, plan for those needs, and then adjust our instruction based on that data. And again, we go full circle with that continuous with the continuous improvement cycle. Once we adjust those instructions based on the data, we collect data again, either formally, informally, or through observation, and see if it requires more adjustments, um, more ways to adjust that instruction so students can improve that data. Um, I do feel informal classroom data, the classroom that the teacher collects is very, very important through exit tickets, student work samples, and quick quizzes. And I believe it's important to analyze that data through a professional learning community, so teachers can identify what are their strengths and weaknesses as teachers, see if that data, those trends align with other teachers in their grade level or in subject, and then also reflect on if they need to improve, uh, uh, if uh, the teacher actions need to change, or if the curriculum or content needs to be adjusted in order to meet the needs of the student. And this goes back to the instructional core, el corazón de la instrucción. Do the teachers need to make adjustments? Do we need to make adjustments to the content? And then sometimes, do we need to make adjustments with the students, right? Are they being absent? We need to look at that data. That's in a whole another our presentation on student data, but it also includes they here on time, or are they attending, or do we have good attendance rates? And I know for the 2024 school year, we had about a 95 percent plus attendance rate. That is something we did improve on as well. And you could see the data. There was improvements from 23 to 24 school year. Um, uh, Going back to the analyzing student data, it's a very beautiful strategy that I would bank on, and use this strategy to monitor weekly or maybe bi-weekly progress monitoring performances of students to see if we're matching improving the data from the taper reports. Now, what do you do once you have the data? You have to interpret it. So you have to understand, what does the data show us, and we already said, right, we already have the target groups and our target areas. We have to desegregate by subgroup, right? Look at that data individually through the assessing student learning, or through the individual student and teacher reports, even grade level reports, to desegregate that subgroup. So for example, we would pull a report on the SPED students in third, fourth, and fifth grade specifically, and try to see what were their patterns and trends in different types of questions. And then remember when I said that students in all the campus were not performing at a master's level. We're having difficulties as an institution to perform at a master's level, and that shows with our SPED population and our non-continuously enrolled. We will identify those testing those patterns in those trends through the formal assessments, through the STAR, through their student responses, and see that pattern there, or as well through that informal data, through the classroom data, through that analyzing of the student learning. Okay, and then from there we can identify strengths, outliers, and then we adjust that instruction. And so the data showed reading third, fourth, and fifth grade needed work in the campus. Also, third grade reading and math students performed lower in the master grade level than the state and the district. And then our subgroups, our subpopulations even performed lower than our all populations, where our SPED and non-continuously enrolled. I did include EBs here, but that the two main groups were our SPED and non-continuously enrolled. Now there is some data once we dive deeper, and I don't have time to show you this, but our students that were taking the test in Spanish, because in elementary, in third, fourth, and fifth, um, students that are in the EB programs or bilingual programs can take that assessments in Spanish. They were performing a little bit lower than our all populations, and so but that's a whole another hour long presentation on that. But these sub pops go into this sub pop as well. These SPED and non-continuously enrolled students are gonna fall under mostly these EB students. So that's why the specific subgroups were EB, SPED, and non-continuously enrolled. But I showed you the data where the SPED and non-continuously enrolled was a big outlier compared to other populations. Now, trends. Our student and non-continuously enrolled students are underperforming in every subject: reading, math, science, and in all achievement levels in approaches, meets, and masters as well. Okay, so uh, an example that I can show you. Let me see if I can get that in here real quick. Um, we have, oop, we can pull our reports for the 2024 school year. Student reports or classroom reports, teacher reports, or campus reports. And so I'm going to look at, let me start here with our campus reports and identify our EBs and ELs and see how they performed. Let me go teacher. Student, there we go. This one probably show the students overall. Subject, let me go reading, third grade, English testers. And then I do have the dear the SPED students, I'm sorry, special education. Let me do the uh, reporting category performance. General. Okay. Now, if you want to do individualized reports based on uh, to see how individual students reported specifically in reporting categories and see what level they fell under, uh, and so we're targeting here the EB, EL, and the special population groups. These would be the students. These would be the students and how and what levels they performed at, and try to see if there's any outliers or any areas where any students where you can get your best bang for your buck if you target them based on their raw score and their percentage score. And so this data does help improve this to student performance. There's a lot of reports that we can run in order to uh, target our student groups and improve that instruction. Let's see where was that? Interpreting data and then connecting data to instructional decisions. Now, once you have that data, once you have that uh, the data and you interpret that data and you find those specific target subgroups and those specific trends and those specific students and you identify their strengths and their weaknesses and their outliers. Now you have to make a plan, a target action plan. And so within this target action plan, you're connecting the data to the instructional decisions. And so you would have to create a target plan that's going to have strategies to improve targeting that special population or that target group. In this case, it would be our special education students. So you would get your your stakeholders would be your special education teacher, your general education teacher, other educational leaders, maybe even parents, to help understand the data, right? To help improve in these in this area. And then from there, once you create start once you know your targeted population, you can start identifying those specific students, your groups, and then assign roles and responsibilities within the campus and community to help target this action plan, and then identify the resources and professional development needed in order to help improve the instruction. Now, and then you got to put a timeline within this target action plan, and implementation dates and timelines, and then progress monitoring checks throughout the year. Is what we're doing helping our students? And this is a living, breathing plan. It's not a file that you just put save and we have to follow this step by step. It's a file that we're gonna have PLC, professional learning communities, and to help us improve this data. And we're gonna have several data cycles within it to make sure that we're hitting that targeted goal to improve this see improvement on this target population are working or not. And if you see, we need to make adjustments. Okay. And so I'm going to go into an example of an action plan. Um, this is one that we've used in our campus, and then I've used it also uh, eh, for I've also used it for our uh, improvement plans in the campus, and then also for the my courses when I took my master's in educational leadership during 2021. Okay. Sorry, I was getting a Teams call and it got me out of got my train of thought. So here's an example of the action plan. Let me see if I can see here. All right. And so